Nobody's went off that. Nobody's went off that. Hell yeah. You know what I mean?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the June 25th Lebanon Board of Works meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we'll move on to the roll call of members. Madam Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Gentry.
Present.
Jane Taylor.
Present.
Bill Stoner.
Present.
Dick Robertson.
Here.
Alan Milburn.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Board. Now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes from our previous meeting. Any questions, comments, concerns, edits to the minutes? Okay, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, minutes are approved. All right, next up is department head reports. First up is Police Chief Wormuth, Police Department.
Good evening, everyone. During the period between 6/11 and today's date of 6/25, the Lebanon Police Department responded to 784 calls for service, and a total of 33 persons were arrested for the following crimes. 13 wanted on warrants. Drug offenses, we had 7, breaking that down: 2 for marijuana, 2 for possession of a narcotic drug, 2 for meth, and 1 for possession of paraphernalia. We had 2 minor in possessions of alcohol arrests, 3 driving while suspended, 1 driver never licensed, 2 for operating a vehicle while intoxicated, 1 battery, 1 domestic battery, 2 theft, and 1 for resisting law enforcement. A total of 14 handgun carry licenses were issued by our office. Detective Captain Tony Bales is currently testifying in a possession of child pornography court-martial being conducted by the United States Air Force at Hickam Air Force Base, Honolulu, Hawaii. Tony was contacted 2 weeks ago by their Office of Special Investigations and asked to come out and testify, and the Air Force graciously provided his flight, per diem, quarters, and everything near the beach. So our prayers go out to Tony. Hope he's surviving his ordeal out there in Hawaii. Department-wide firearms training will be conducted tomorrow and Wednesday, and that we ask the public to enjoy the July 4th celebrations responsibly. Please take in consideration your neighbors when firing off fireworks. Don't do it too late, and please follow all laws when operating the golf carts on city streets. The main violations we've been having are allowing underage and unlicensed drivers, people not getting their permits, operating after hours, and if you want, you can go to our Facebook page. We've listed some of the laws there on our Facebook page, and you can always call our office, and we'll be happy to explain all the laws to you. And that's all we have for this month.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any questions for the board for the Chief?
No.
No. Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Tyson.
All right, next up is Deputy Chief Baird of the Fire Department.
Evening, Mayor, Board of Works. Since the last Board of Works meeting, the Fire Department responded to 119 emergency calls for service. We've logged 159 training hours, performed 31 commercial inspections, installed 6 car seats, and participated in 1 public education event. The Teen Academy was a huge success. We had 36 kids ages from 13 to 18 participate in a week-long camp. Next coming up is Camp 911 for kids age 8 to 12. The dates for the camp are July 10th through the 12th. You can contact Rachel Hansen at 765-483-4428 for information regarding Camp 911. That's 765-483-4428. All through the month of July, firefighters will be training at the Conservation Pond. Training will focus on drowning rescue, using our boat, and rescue swimming techniques. And then I was going to touch on one thing about the fireworks, just to remind everybody that when you let off fireworks, you're responsible for where they land as well. So that's just something for people to keep in mind. You can let them off in your yard, they land on your neighbor's yard or roof or whatever. You are responsible for that. That's just something they ought to consider.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Any questions from the board for Mike? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks.
All right, next up, Parks Department, John Messenger.
Evening. The pool's been extremely busy, obviously with the 90-degree heat. We got that coming up again this week, so look forward to that. June swim lessons were a huge success. We have over 60 lessons, children taking lessons this last month, a couple weeks of it. We had over 20 that learned how to swim for the first time, so that's awesome. The rest of them advanced on up to their different age groups or different skill set. It's great to see those kids swim for the first time, though. July, we have that coming up. A couple more weeks of lessons in a couple weeks. We have at least 60 signed up for that, so it's really neat to see those kids smiling. Hats off to Symphony at Sunset. Mayor was there, started us off last night. Beautiful night. If you guys weren't there, you missed it, just saying. The Symphony does a great job. Of course, all the departments are out there representing us all well, too. Street department parking, you got fire and police taking care of us, making sure we're safe with the fireworks, and also public safety with Tyson and Brad were out there. Appreciate all their support. We've moved the 100 tables back to the designated areas, Memorial Park and whatnot, along with the basketball goals are back up and going so kids can come out and play basketball out there. Just a beautiful night, though, had by all. Hope you got to see it. If not, get your tickets for next year. Just a great event that we have, kind of help us get started for the 4th of July. There are a lot more 4th of July festivities coming up, and in the next week and a half, our friends from the carnival will be in July 2nd through July 7th, so prepare yourself for that. We are. As far as that goes, too, we've already talked public safety. The police will be shutting down in case of severe or bad weather, they will be shutting the carnival and clearing the parks out. Just want everybody to know. And last note, no blankets, tarps, spray paint in the parks until after July 3rd at 4 o'clock. So at July 3rd at 4 o'clock, you can mark your spots for the 4th of July. I know a lot of people like to get out there plenty early and picnic or whatnot, but no blankets, tarps, or spray paint, please. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, John. Any questions for John from the board?
No.
Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Engineering Department, Kevin Krulik.
Good evening, Mayor and board members. Engineering update for 625. Since our last meeting on the East Street project, nearing the end of that project, but we've had our final walkthrough. We've conducted that with the contractor and Lebanon Utilities and developed a punch list there for the contractor. They're working on those things. They're already beginning some of the miscellaneous repairs, water valve adjustments, things like things of that nature. Happy to also report that we've patched the Park Street utility cuts so that the end of Busby Street, where there was a large patch there, has been for some time. That was resurfaced today. I thank Larry Lee and Triangle Asphalt for getting that finished up today with some other paving work we were doing around town. Work to be completed hopefully before our next meeting. Ongoing repairs on those miscellaneous punch list items will be taking place. The contractor is well aware of our 4th of July festivities and has been instructed that they can't tear up anything that will not be able to be put back before the 4th of July. So there are some things like some sidewalk repairs and stuff that will have to be done, but we'll make sure that that does not disrupt the parade. In addition, the curbs on Busby Street, the final asphalt surface on Busby Street, those are tentatively planned for this week, but they were also tentatively planned for last week, and we kept getting pushed back with some weather patterns here and kind of at the mercy of the contractor trying to get caught up and get us back on the schedule. So I don't have a firm date, but I'm confident before we meet again that'll be wrapped up. The contractor is still in their final completion phase of the project. They have 90 days. That puts them into late July before any kind of the next contractual obligations are to be met. Moving on to other projects, the Northern Interchange Feasibility Study. NDOT issued their comments a little over a week ago. Those comments have been adopted into a final draft. I'm currently reviewing that. Once I've had a chance just to put eyes on that and make sure I don't have any problems with that, we'll post that for the public to look at. And then we're also tentatively planning for July 9th at that city council meeting, so 2 weeks from tonight, to present that for the public. Again, remind everyone, the study looked at really 3 potential locations: existing 52, 300 north, and an area north of 300 for potential interchange locations, and has ranked the pros and cons of each of those. And so that's what the study will speak to. A little bit of a spoiler, I know from quickly looking through the study, it is focusing in on the area north of 300. So I know that'll make a lot of people happy that it's not going to be disrupting the homes and the properties along 300. So it's tentatively looking at a new site, a new location that will be not where an existing road lies. But more to come on that in the coming weeks. Jamison Street Bridge removal, just reporting that the asphalt patches at the intersections of Busby and Jamison are complete now, so that project is officially closed out from the city's perspective. Moving on to obviously the big project for everyone, the downtown project, part of our downtown action plan. Work completed since our last meeting. We've got all the water main testing done. The last samples of water samples were taken last week and passed last week. Storm sewer is complete with the exception of one structure that has to wait until the final water tie-ins are completed. Conduit installation is all done. The old courthouse wall, section of the courthouse wall, and the Boone County Historical Society plaque was removed last week and delivered to the Historical Society for preservation and safekeeping. Storm sewer installation is complete. The alley demolition south of Main Street has also been completed. Most of that work was done on Saturday. Courthouse wall footings are being formed up and getting ready to pour those later in the week. We've completed a new water valve installation on Main Street that will allow us to isolate the courthouse square system as we begin to do our final tie-ins. This new valve was installed really near the alley in front of the Presbyterian Park there. Water outage, that is the next major hurdle for us to get over. We have a water outage planned for tomorrow night. This will affect all 4 sides of the courthouse square. This will also affect State Road 39 for a block south to State Road 32 and Main Street for a block west to West Street. We're planning the outage at about 9 p.m. tomorrow night to try to minimize impact to any of our businesses and residents in the area. And then the water will be off for approximately 6 hours. Those will be intermittent outages depending on where you're at. It's primarily a full 6-hour outage along 39, but some of the areas surrounding the square will have some intermittent outages as we go through the process. The contractor has done a good job going door to door, speaking with all the property owners, speaking with all the residents and retailers that work in the area. They've spoken to just about everybody in person. Those that they have not been able to speak to, letters have been sent, flyers have been left for them. So trying to be as proactive as we can in notifying everyone of this next project hurdle. Additionally, working on subgrade preparation. A lot of that has happened on the north side of Main Street over the last week. Still happy to report that our seismic monitoring has been successful. We've not seen any significant vibrations caused by the construction. And work expected before we get back to you. The pavers will begin to show up the week of the 4th of July. The water main tie-in, of course, as I mentioned, will be tied in tomorrow night. Water service laterals along Main Street will happen once that water tie-in is complete. Ongoing material procurement. Storm sewer installation will complete the last piece of storm sewer at that northeast corner Meridian and Main, do the water tie-in, as well as continued subgrade preparation. And you'll be beginning to see the foundations in the ground for the courthouse wall. Again, look for weekly updates from the contractor. Look for weekly updates from the Heart of Lebanon through their website and Facebook page. There's a lot of information out there. Heart of Lebanon is doing a great job of doing actually daily updates for everyone, including on Saturdays. So there's a lot of information out there so that people can see what's going on. And just encourage everyone to support our downtown businesses during this time. Pavement ratings, our PASER study, our roadway asset management plan update has been completed now, and in the process of reviewing that and making some final decisions for our paving schedule this year. I don't think there's anything earth-shattering in that report that will alter the plans that Larry had already put together. So this will just allow us to solidify those decisions and move forward with some of those project biddings. Pending some legal review on documents and bidding documents. We'll get those out on the street shortly. Indianapolis Avenue Phase 2 right-of-way acquisition is slowly and steadily marching towards completion. It's a lengthy process, as many of you know, but we're on schedule to meet our August deadline of securing right-of-way in anticipation of a bidding schedule in January, with construction following in the spring of next year. Grant Street updates there. Had good conversations with NDOT last year. They have approached us about expediting that project through their exchange program. If you remember, that project was awarded 2022 fiscal year funds, and now they're looking at possibly expediting that project to let sometime in 2020, most likely targeting the the July letting in 2020. Again, a $3.7 million project with approximately $2.1 million of federal funds. Our letters of interest for professional services were due back last Tuesday on June 19th. I have all those and we'll be reviewing those. We received 6 letters of interest from Butler, Fairman, and Seifert, GAI Engineers, Crossroad Engineering, MS Consultants, American Structure Point, and the Lockmuller Group. And I have tentatively put together a selection committee that would include myself, the mayor, Michael Susan with Lebanon Utilities, because there's a lot of Lebanon Utilities projects involved with this, as well as then I would like to see a representative from this board as well as a representative from City Council. So I would like either someone to volunteer or to be nominated from the board to review this stack of letters of interest that I have and score those for me. We don't have to meet formally to do that. You can take those and score them yourselves and then return them to me so that we can generate final scoring for NDOT. But would like a volunteer if I could get one. And then last but certainly not least, and we'll talk more about this later tonight, but Riley Ridge, an 85-lot subdivision by Arbor Homes, is nearing the end of its approval timeline, and we'll be considering a couple of variances here later tonight. But that project is very close to breaking ground and starting construction on those 85 new home sites for Lebanon.
Okay, great.
That's all I have.
I had a question for you, Kevin. Could you speak a little bit about what we're doing on Busby Street? It's a little unique for what we've done in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. So Busby Street was part of the East Street contract, but was one of these alternates that was bid with the East Street contract just to include utility work, water main work specifically. The Busby contract, the Busby portion of the contract was exclusively Lebanon Utilities' responsibility. And I say all that because, essentially this was a water main removal and replacement that also included then new meters and water service laterals to the homes, or to the meter pits, excuse me. And with that, it included the patching of the curbs where the new water services crossed the curbs. Well, the curbs on Busby were in really bad shape. Not the worst curbs in town, but some of the worst. There's not a lot of curb left on Busby Street. It was in pretty awful shape. According to the contract, though, they were just going to patch the places where they cut across it. Well, that became kind of impractical given the standpoint of the state of the curb, and there's really it's hard to draw a line on where to replace curb that is not in good shape or not existent. So rather than trying to do that, what we looked at is a new curb method that we could install curbs over the entire length of Busby. And we think we got a way we can do it for essentially the same cost that we were going to spend in the contract, or, Lebanon Utilities was going to spend the contract. The tie-ins on Busby included about 66 lineal feet of curb patching at $100 a foot, so that's $6,600. Well, we got a proposal to replace all the curbs on Busby with an extruded curb method, whereby the curb is it's a small section of curb, a 6-inch high curb that's extruded onto the pavement. It's epoxied into place, creates a really strong bond with that epoxy. You'll break off the asphalt before you'll break the curb off of the street. But this allows us to replace the entire street curb section from East Street all the way to Park for roughly the same price, or $1,500 more than we would have just been patching, as I said, a very difficult street to patch. Lebanon Utilities has accepted that proposal, and we're moving forward with that operation. And so as soon as we can get that contractor on site, as I said, with some scheduling difficulties we've had, but as soon as he's on site, we'll have new curbs for the entire length of Busby. I really see this as kind of a test project. Assuming this works out well and those curbs perform well, this is something we could possibly utilize on other repaving projects. We've always talked about how we would love to replace curbs, we would love to replace sidewalks when we're repaving streets, but unfortunately there's just not enough budget available to do something like this. And typically where a curb, full depth curb removal and replacement might be upwards of $100 by the time we remove the old curb and replace it. And then there's additional costs associated with the pavement repair. This curb is being replaced for about $8 a lineal foot. So a drastic savings. Again, it's a little bit experimental. It's used quite often in our business park, especially in parking lot areas. It is used by other municipalities on public streets like this, but it's not something we've done in the city of Lebanon. So we're excited to give it a try, and hopefully if this works out well, this is a way we can cost-effectively do more curb replacement throughout the city.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. Any other questions from the board for Kevin? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir. All right, next up, Planning Department. Ben Bontrager.
Good evening, board members. Planning operations over the last couple of weeks in 6/11. We began pretty busy on the building side, completed 37 building inspections and issued 39 permits. Excited to see that we had 5 new single-family home permits issued in the last couple of weeks, so that's a good sign for that to increase. Code enforcement operations over the last couple of weeks have also been pretty busy there, staying definitely busy over the summer with trash and debris and grass and weed complaints, so we're definitely staying on top of those and getting those addressed as quickly as possible. In terms of special projects, the comprehensive plan is moving forward well. We just did our first round of focus group meetings today, which I call these industry expert groups. We assemble a group of individuals all related to a specific topic and just discuss that topic for about an hour. Special thanks to Mr. Milburn for participating in one of our groups this morning. I think there was definitely some good and honest discussion in those groups that's going to help us formulate our vision and some of the strategies for the community moving forward. So special thanks to all the individuals that participate in those groups. Just one final note, one of our active living events every year, the Star Spangled Pedal Parade, is this Saturday at 2:30 p.m. and we have 67 participants this year, so it should be a real nice event again.
Add 2 more participants.
Let Makeda know as soon as possible.
I will let her know in the morning. Thank you.
I'm sure we can do that. So, and that's all I have.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Ben from the board? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Street Department, Larry Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Since the last council meeting, the street department has had additional 30 calls that we responded to in the time of the matter. Anything from missed recycling, a couple of dead deer on some roads, pothole repair, and some limb pickup. Also, like Kevin said, we got our rating for our city streets. There's a little bit of a change, but it's like we're going to be talking to you, Mayor, and get with Kevin and the attorney, get out some legal stuff so we can get everything ready to go for proposals for bids and things like that. We did work on 3 streets. It was from last year where we ran out of time. They were 1-block streets that during the Stokes School Commons where they were being repaired. Those 1-block streets are now paved. They got paved today, and they look really good. Also, the patch on Busby and Park, as Kevin mentioned, that was done. We just got done about an hour and a half ago on that. So I'm very thankful for that, and I'm sure the residents will be very pleased with that. Street Department is still continuing to do a lot of street sweeping with the sweeper we've got. It's running every day as they can. And then also today they started mowing and cleaning easements and getting everything ready for the 4th and getting the weeds down. Street Department continues to pick up limbs. Oh my, we've got a lot of lists. We've got a long list for limb pickup. And hopefully this week we'll start right on into next Wednesday and try to get things cleaned up for the 4th.
Okay.
That's all I've got, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Any other questions for Larry?
No.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Larry?
All right. Next up, Communications and Community Development. Joe LePage.
Good evening, everyone. First, a big thank you to all those who attended our June Absent Issues lunch meeting. We were at Peoples, so we were embracing the orange, and we were able to have a really good discussion, have a really good turnout of both city employees and folks who just came in and enjoyed some of the food and some of the conversation. So very much appreciate that. Wanted to alert everyone that July 11th, that's a Wednesday, we will be at Parky's on the north side of town. We're going to attempt to be eating outside, weather dependent. The doors will open at 6:30 p.m. with food being served around 7 and that event lasting officially from 7 until 8 p.m. Again, doors opening at 6:30 p.m. at Parky's on Wednesday, July 11th. Free food, as always. Non-alcoholic beverages will be provided. You can bring your questions, have conversations. It was really interesting. We had a lot of one-on-one conversations before the official kind of sit down happened, and then had more of a kind of an open forum. So that was unique to see, and I think very effective for all those who stopped by. As Kevin mentioned, the downtown construction continues, and the Heart of Lebanon, the not-for-profit downtown revitalization organization, has been pushing the Embrace the Orange kind of theme. And so something new that they've rolled out is the Embrace the Orange t-shirt. And so you'll see some of the construction workers will actually be wearing some of these. They saw them in the window and wanted several, and so of course we never say no. They're of course free, and we want folks to be able to showcase the construction. Again, here's the front with our hashtag Embrace the Orange in downtown Lebanon. And then we made the back of the shirt kind of like a summer concert series. So it has all the affected businesses, their phone numbers, and their websites. And so it's kind of the summer tour. Additionally, the Heart of Lebanon will have a float in the 4th of July parade, giving out these t-shirts, gift certificates, and also some of the squeezable orange cones that have the Embrace the Orange kind of theme on it. So again, very much appreciate all those folks that have braved the loud noise, the dust, and kind of the big machines that have been moving some things around, and still being able to go down and partake of what downtown has to offer. New businesses coming downtown, set to be open on July 2nd. That's El Chisma. That is a Mexican restaurant, authentic Mexican. Also, just happened this weekend, Sampson Family Leather is taking the opportunity during the construction season to kind of revamp their retail operation. They've uncovered the original brick inside their building, and also uncovered the original hardwood flooring of their building. And so they're making an investment, kind of getting ready for what we are confident will be the kind of end result of the downtown construction, and that is a lot more people downtown. And so talking to Steve over at Crossroads Imprints, he's looking to expand the way that he does things. He does a lot of team sports. He's looking to kind of move into retail because he knows that the trail is going to generate some folks downtown. And so it's neat to see how kind of our downtown is evolving as the downtown construction continues. So that's going to be unique to see. Lebanon City Market coming up on Friday. Fruits and vegetables are here really in abundance so far. Becky's Market doing quite well as another one of our vendors. Their name is Wisewood. Fridays from 4 p.m. until 7 p.m. A couple city employees behind me have been regular participants, both getting their libation fix and also dinner for the evening for the family as well. If you're not familiar with the new location, it's 309 South Lebanon Street, which is on the big red roof at the former Estes property, formerly known as the Lebanon Downtown Co-working Development property. Again, that's 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Fridays. Parking's available. There have been a couple nights where there have been some gray clouds. Doesn't matter. We're underneath. The vendors love it because they don't have to set up canopies and worry about them blowing away and weighing them down. We have the ready-made canopy right there. Also, to be released on July 1st will be the newsletter for the month of July. You can still send your information and events that you'd like publicized. There are a bunch of them to info@lebanon.in.gov is a place to send that. It is free to publicize your event, and we're happy to do that as part of a public service.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Any questions for Joe from the board? No. Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right, last but not least, Dave Newell, Stormwater Department.
How's it going? Let's see, we got about 5 calls. Most of them were the other night when it was a downpour. Yeah. I guess to the public, you know, when it rains that hard, it don't matter if we're standing there holding a lid open. It takes a little bit, you know, to take the rain. So it's not that we're not doing it. We were prepared for it. You can only take what it can take. And we've had a few calls about cones. You know, when we do concrete repair, it takes a long time for that to settle. We can't just let cars drive on it. So that's what those are about. No big deal. We just keep doing our inspections, especially after the big rain events like that. But we were prepared for that, so it's just part of it. I think we repaired 4 catch basins since our last meeting, so we're moving right along with those. We probably cleaned at least the same amount with our vac machine. And that's it. We just keep cleaning and trying to stay ahead of the rain and doing our inspections.
You also got that list of where we have curbs and where we don't earlier, too.
Yep, we got that
so
for you, too.
Thank you for that. That was helpful.
Yeah.
All right, any questions for Dave? Any questions from the public? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
All right, that concludes department head reports. We'll move on to old business. Any old business coming before the board? Okay, we'll move on to new business then. I have 2 items up here. Both are actually stormwater related. The first one is a stormwater variance request concerning the Riley Ridge subdivision. I'll turn that over to Kevin to introduce.
Yeah, thank you, board members. This is a fairly straightforward one. As I mentioned earlier, Riley Ridge, an 85-lot subdivision located off of Riley Road, just west of the existing Clear Vista neighborhood. It will connect into the road network system inside Clear Vista. Has 2 variances that they've proposed. And really, this is a function of just some site constraints that they've had to deal with. They've got a long, narrow retention pond that will be located up against the I-65 right-of-way. And associated with that site geometry and the grades on the site, and then trying to get cover, really creates two distinct problems that they're not able to really mitigate on site related to our stormwater design standards. The first one is Chapter 4, Section D, Point 3, which requires a 10-foot maintenance ledge to be constructed 12 inches above the normal pool, and then also a 10-foot safety ledge to be constructed 6 foot below the normal pool, the water elevation of the pond in its steady state condition. So that design ordinance requires those things for all ponds that are wet bottom that do not have a security fence. As I said, this is a long, narrow detention pond. So it can easily be maintained from the east side of the pond. Equipment that might ever need to be put in there for dredging can easily maintain the entire pond from one side. And they will also be planting a dense evergreen planting row on that west side of the pond where the safety ledges and the maintenance ledges are not in place, to try to dissuade anybody from using that side of the pond banks. The second one is Chapter 4, Section E of our Stormwater Control Ordinance that requires 3 foot of cover over all storm sewers under paved areas. It goes on further to say 2 foot of cover over storm sewers in all non-paved areas. They have provided 2 foot of cover in all areas, and they have also provided Class 3 concrete reinforced pipe. Again, from experience, our 3 foot cover rule is a bit excessive. Most cities operate under a 2 foot rule, so we have a little bit of a higher standard. Probably something that we will be updating here with the construction standards updates that we're doing later this summer. We've reviewed this. The engineering department has reviewed this. We've also reviewed it with Christopher Burke, our consultant. We are both recommending issuance of these variances just due to the site constraints that the developers had to deal with.
So none of those impact how much water it can hold, not impacting drainage overall, it's just the physical construction of the pond?
They do not impact the hydrology or hydraulics of or function of the detention pond. Really just affects maintenance and the safety of a detention pond.
So you said the edge wouldn't be on the west side, which is the side closest to 65, correct?
The side closest to 65, the west side will not have the ledges. The east side of the pond closest to the homes, the proposed homes in Riley Ridge, will have all the required safety and maintenance ledges.
Okay.
The developer and their engineer is here with me. Lance McElroy with Arbor Homes is here, as well as Josh Kreibler with American Structure Point, if you'd like to ask any questions of them.
Great. Thanks,
Kevin, how much easement we got from the back of the houses to the pond? We got enough easement there for them on the east side of the pond, so that way they can clean, somebody could get in there to clean that pond.
Yeah, that whole common area is drainage, isn't it?
My only other question is, since we have no ledge there on the west side, just for safety issues, is there anything we could do to have some sort of a sign put up to just identify there's no ledge, no safety ledge on this side of the pond? I think that's something that we could do to just.
We put one up on each end.
Yeah, I don't think anybody'd be there, but just for kids or something to run around the pond, and I know they're probably not going to understand what a ledge is, but you know, if we post a sign up there to say that, you know, there's no safety ledge here, please do not enter this area or something like that.
If it would appease the board, I think that's a fine idea. I don't think the developer has any issue with that. They'll work with staff just to administratively make sure that we come to some agreement on the language of the signs.
Roughly how deep would it be?
It's 8 to 10 feet.
8 to 10 feet?
Okay. The prints are small on the diagram, but is there a fence that is on the east side or runs north to south between the homes and the ponds?
No, there isn't. There is an existing fence on I-65 that will keep anyone from trying to go either way on that side of the ponds.
The ordinance basically says you either have a fence or you supply these safety and maintenance ledges. And so that's really the need for the variance, because they don't want to do a fence, and we wouldn't suggest a fence in a residential neighborhood. Typically, all of our other residential neighborhoods that have detention ponds, you know, there's no fencing that is wardening off the pond areas. So, yeah, I think I think it's an acceptable variance. It really has to do with site constraints. I think there'll be a very limited amount of people that'll actually be wanting to be on the I-65 side of the pond. So, under these
trees on that side too. So.
Yeah, we'll have a dense evergreen planting row on that side, so you know it won't be real conducive to being on that side of the pond anyway. So.
Any further questions from the board?
And you said the depth of the retention pond's 8 to 10 feet? Is that what you said?
Yes. Correct.
Okay.
That's truthfully as low as we can go, because it has to come back up pretty quickly.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd have the ledges.
Yeah.
Right.
They're long and thin.
Yeah.
We do have the ledge on the side behind the houses, though, both ledges that are required behind the houses.
Okay. So Dick, you're the stormwater board member here before we merge the board. So any concerns from your end? Questions?
No, I got mine answered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussions from the board?
No.
Okay. So at this point, I would entertain, actually, excuse me, any public comment concerning this? No? Okay. Would entertain a motion then to...
I'll make a motion, we approve the variance request for Riley Ridge subdivision.
Okay. We have a motion to approve the variance request. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, variance request is approved. Thank you, Kevin. And I'm sure you'll help us here with this last one, too. The contract assignment for the East Street project?
Yeah, this is a housekeeping item. As many of you are probably aware, the East Street construction contract was executed by the Lebanon Stormwater Board. Well, that Lebanon Stormwater Board no longer exists. It was absorbed by this entity. So just to really put a bow on that contract as we near the closeout of the project and final invoicing and final project closeouts, we really do need to assign that contract and just clean up the language in the contract so that the Board of Works can execute those final closing documents. So, Rob, I missed anything on that? I think it's fairly straightforward.
No, you touched on it, and I think just looking for a motion to approve and authorize the mayor to execute it.
Okay. Any questions from the board concerning that? No. I know it's a little tedious when we change the structure mid-project, but okay. All right, would entertain a motion to, is it just approving the contract? And then we sign
I think authorizing the contract and you to ultimately execute it.
Yeah, so a motion to authorizing the contract and allowing the mayor to execute that contract.
I'll make a motion, we agree,
Authorize
the mayor to sign this agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
We have a motion to authorize. Is there another, or a second?
I second.
Motion a second. All those here say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, that has been authorized, and I'll sign that when I get the chance. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Kevin. All right, that's all I have under new business. Is there any other new business come before the board? No. Okay, this time we'll move on to claims. Any questions about the claims, or entertain a motion? Board, would entertain a motion concerning the claims?
I'll move that we approve the claims.
We have a motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion a second. All those fair say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, claims are approved. And would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second the motion.
Motion and a second. All those fair say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, we are adjourned. The city council meeting will begin at 7:15.